Hello and welcome back, all my Dragon Ball theorists. There are a lot of ways to get stronger in Dragon Ball and wanted to start analyzing some of these legendary methods of training to increase your power, to dive deep into how effective these training methods were and debunk some common misconceptions along the way. What better than to start off with the legendary magical sword itself, the Z Sword. Many questions surround this item because one thing we like to do in Dragon Ball is find out how strong our beloved characters are and how do they stack up to other powerful characters. So what better than to find out just how incredible a feat of strength it is, not just to be able to pick up the super heavy sword, but also to train with it. We learn in Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 16 that the reason Trunks got so strong in the future is because he also had the opportunity to train with the Z Sword in preparation of stopping Babidi from resurrecting Buu. The one difference is, well, the old Kai was never released from the sword, and so Trunks never got his power unlocked. However, he was able to significantly increase his power and defeat the Bora just from his training with the Z Sword on the Kai world. Gohan had limited time to train with the sword, and then it was broken. However, Trunks had far longer to train and actually got to use the Z Sword in battle. So there is more to this sword than just some old Kai, since it was long believed that he was the true source of its power. In a way, yes and no. He definitely was the magical aspect of it, possessing magic to unlock fighters' hidden potential. However, when Lord Beerus sealed away the old Kai millions of years ago in a dispute at a meeting, he made sure that it was no easy task to break the seal, and you had to possess far more power than the Kais had to do so. Which is why the Z Sword remained as a sword of legend stuck into the Z Plateau for 75 million years. Now let's get into the fun parts. There are a few important feats of strength going on with the Z Sword, which is what brought you into this video. The most important one that I want to mention first, since it isn't just heavily overlooked, but it is also one of the most impressive lifting feats that we have seen in Dragon Ball. Actually removing the Z Sword for the first time, breaking it free from its resting location for millions of years. The amount of lifting force to do this is far more than what was needed to pick up the sword itself. So we will break down just how impressive it was for Gohan to accomplish this, then why being able to train with it is a feat of strength that many powerful characters across even other continuities would be impressed with, and why it makes you so strong. Gohan decides to attempt to free the Z Sword, and it's easy to see why no one was able to remove it for 75 million years. With a first attempt down and glowing hands from pain of trying to remove it, Gohan needs to go Super Saiyan and attempt it again with everything he has. Before we get into this attempt though, here is where I want to break down how impossible it was to actually free the Z Sword. Here is where we will get into some physics, mass, and gravity of this impressive feat. Gohan stands at 5'8", and with the best shot of the Z Sword next to him for scale, places the length of the sword at around 55 inches. The problem with removing the sword lies in how most of it is actually embedded into the ground. Several angles show that as much as 43 inches of the sword is firmly into this material, which now it isn't just the overwhelming weight of the sword that is the issue, but actually removing it from the mass it is stuck in. This mass then has the force of gravity on the Kai planet gripping the sword, as well as the force Gohan is using with his feet pushing down at it. Simply put, the harder Gohan pulls, the more force that is holding onto the sword, making it a near impossible lifting feat. To give the best example in real life of this task, since we are trying to understand what really was being lifted in terms of weight, if anyone has ever had the unfortunate job of removing fence posts from the ground, you will appreciate more what Gohan did. The issue is physics, and a 6-foot pole stuck into the ground only 2 feet exponentially increases the force needed to remove it. So a fence post weighing only 25 kilograms requires a force hundreds of pounds greater. Then the farther it is into the ground and how dense that ground is makes this sharply go up into thousands of pounds of force. This is why you see people digging around the post. You have to free it from the mass holding onto them. The deeper the object is into the earth, the more mass and gravity that is holding it. It's the only way unless you have heavy machinery or you're a really strong Saiyan. Now imagine being on the Kai planet and removing the same 25 kilogram fence post with most of it stuck into an unknown material far denser than that of Earth, with 10 times the Earth's gravity. A lot of variables there, and the 10 times gravity isn't specifically stated, just what is assumed. However, this 25 kilogram Earth object now requires hundreds of tons of lifting force to remove it. We can't calculate it, as like I said, the density of the material holding it is unknown, but this material itself holds up the Super Saiyan Gohan pulling with all his might for a while until enough friction is created to eventually destroy the ground, making a simple 25 kilogram object that every human can lift require thousands, if not tens of thousands of tons of force to accomplish this feat. With that said, we all know the Z-Sword weighs far more than 25 kilograms, which is why this feat of strength is so heavily overlooked and why most superheroes would never be worthy of even coming close to freeing the Z-Sword. Saiyans are really strong, everyone, stronger than you can possibly imagine, as when you scale up the weight of the Z-Sword, Gohan is actually now moving weight that is into millions of tons. The force being lifted is incalculable at this time. Now, if anyone in the comments wants to expand on my napkin math used to explain these feats better with numbers, I encourage it. Just wanted to give an analogy and simple explanation to get this first point across. Gohan is relieved once the Z-Sword is freed, and even flying with it after he breaks it free because it weighs far less than the force needed to accomplish this insane feat. So how much does this sword weigh? To begin to figure this out, we need Goku. Thanks, Goku. We need him because he has done tons of weight training and need to compare him lifting the Z-Sword with his other feats of strength. When Gohan hands the Z-Sword to Goku, it comes crashing down to the ground, demonstrating the sheer weight of it. Here we're going to go into one of my favorite debated lifting feats of Goku training with weight on Otherworld, where somehow it was thought that Goku can only lift 40 tons in his base form, which is incredibly inaccurate. The Xiaokai increases the weight to 40 tons total as we see 10 tons on each limb, except Goku doesn't come crashing to the ground. It's like people forgot about gravity. While the weight is very heavy on each limb and it is difficult to do his martial arts with this weight, he is still flying. If this weight was too heavy, he wouldn't be flying and would have crashed into the planet, unable to lift it. However, he can easily lift this weight as he is able to fly with it. Then we come to the part where it's unrealistic to think this is Earth's gravity. While the specific gravity isn't stated, this part of Otherworld where fighters are training is extremely similar to the Kai planet. If it obeys the same laws of 10 times Earth's gravity, then obviously Goku is flying with 400 tons, not just lifting it. Which brings us to the fact that since this weight is attached to his arms, it is incredible that he can even eventually punch with it. If you are a powerlifter, it isn't that hard to lift 400 or 500 pounds off the ground, but even trying to punch with 30 pounds on your arms is near impossible because of gravity and motion. Newton's 3 laws of motion states, every object in a state of uniform motion will remain in that state of motion unless an external force acts on it. Force equals mass times acceleration. Simply put, when Goku only has 20 tons on each arm before it was increased to 100 tons, when he is punching, Goku is accelerating 20 tons to incredible speeds, then has to exert a force equal to stopping 20 tons moving at these speeds. Remember, it's 20 tons times the speed. To give you an idea, 20 tons times 100 miles per hour equals, yeah, you're starting to get the picture. So the faster Goku punches increases the weight exponentially to stop the forward momentum of the 20 tons. Obviously, Goku is punching much faster than 100 miles per hour. This is why when large asteroids hit Earth, they cause catastrophic disasters. In other words, if Goku punched the Earth with this weight, he would cause an extinction level event. That is how much force is being used, and hopefully this eliminates any naysayers to saying Goku can only lift 40 tons. Saiyans are a lot stronger than you think. So how much does the Z-Sword weigh? I can't come up with an exact number because we can only make a direct comparison with Goku training with weights on his arms, as it is directly close to being handed the Z-Sword from Gohan. Weight at the end of his arms versus Z-Sword in his outreached arms. Since Goku is training with 40 tons combined from both arms, the Z-Sword is well beyond that weight. It wasn't until weight was increased to 200 tons total in his arms that he couldn't lift them, but still was able to fly with now 400 tons. Goku, shocked by the weight of the sword, it crashed into the ground, and it wasn't until he puts all his body weight behind it, he can actually lift it and start swinging the sword. He isn't flying with this thing either, he is on the ground trying to get a handle of its impressive weight. If Goku can fly with 400 tons and he is struggling to swing the Z-Sword on the ground, I think you know where this is going. Yes, the Z-Sword is incredibly heavy. It is a weight that can only be estimated at this time with what was said previously and at least being over 400 tons. Unfortunately, the math and physics get to numbers that I need Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson to figure out. Also, we don't have all the information. However, most of these examples are just to point out that our Saiyans can indeed lift millions of tons when needed in their transformations. Now we realize just how impressive it is to train in these methods with these weights. Remember, swinging a sword that weighs hundreds of tons requires far more strength to also control the speed at which you are swinging it. force equals mass times acceleration. This is why training with the Z-Sword is so effective to increasing your power. Kibito, who is shocked at Goku using the Z-Sword for the first time, states that he does this without any training, but little did he know that Goku has done this training before. The first time Goku went to King Kai's planet, part of his basic training was being able to hit the elusive Gregory with a super heavy weapon. This type of weight training under heavy gravity has been used time and time again to push our Saiyans to new heights. So in a future timeline, while Trunks was able to master use of the Z-Sword, his power increased dramatically, allowing him to defeat the Bora, which was a challenge for Gohan. This is why future Trunks got so strong. Even without help from the old Kai, this type of training would be beneficial for anyone that is strong enough to do it. This is why King Kai uses this method. This is why the Z-Sword training is so incredibly powerful. Also why Whis continues to use weight training as a foundation to help Goku and Vegeta ascend to the world beyond. Now let me know, what are your thoughts of our beloved Saiyans? Did you realize how strong they really are? Or were Saiyans stronger than you think? Hope everyone has an amazing rest of the weekend. I always love to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it and smash that like button. It really does help tremendously if you take the time to do that with the way things have been on YouTube. Also, please subscribe and turn on that notification bell to keep those theories coming.